So we continue looking at this question that has to do with geometric sequence. And in this part, we're going to specifically look at Tn. So the idea here is that we have a weight and springs. And at the first stage, that weight is brought to this point. Oops, didn't want to do that. At this point A, this is very, very squashed, and then it's released. And that spring pushes the weight all the way to B. Now, what we are told that every time the distance of traveling of this weight getting smaller, and we understand that every time it travels only 4/5 of the previous distance, that's how we knew it was geometric sequence. And in the first part, we did the table, the traveling, the distance that weight travel. So we know with geometric sequence, that is about Tn, meaning the value of the term. It's about Sn, meaning the sum of the number of first term. And in the context of this question, Tn represents the distance traveled at specific stage. So let's say I want to know how much did it travel at stage 10. Then I'm looking at Tn. But if I want to know in total from the very beginning to 10, to the stage 10, how much did it travel, then I'm looking at some formula. So let's have a look at that part B. Stage P is the first stage. So when they are talking stage P, they are talking term P. Is the first stage where the distance traveled by the weight is less than 10. Distance traveled by the weight. So that's what it is. Tn is the distance traveled at specific stage, and in this case, we are talking of stage P. And they are telling us that that value of Tn is less than 10. Okay, so what's our formula for Tn when it comes to geometric sequence? We have that A multiplied by R and then to the power of n minus 1. So here, if we're applying the information here, so that value here is what? They are saying has to be less than 10. So 10 will be bigger than this value. A is what? The first term, and in our case is 120. Multiply, we know that every time common ratio we are multiplying by 4/5. And then we have P, that's the stage I'm looking at, minus 1. Now what are we looking for? We are looking for P, and P is where? In our power. Now when you have an equation that involves power, meaning I am looking for power, I know that we're going to use logs, isn't it? Because log means I am looking for power. And that's what we are doing here. When you are looking for power, it is easier to deal with equation when it has an equal sign, because there is quite a number of rules that involve inequality and log. So let's stick with equal signs so that we don't have to remember those rules. Okay, so if I'm looking for power, what's my base? 4/5. So I know that when I have base and then I have a power, then on the other side, I'm going to have outcome of that, which is product. Now that is true only when the base doesn't have any numbers in front. I have 120 here, so that's the first thing I need to do. I need to get rid of that. This is a multiplication. To eliminate multiplication, we divide, and we divide both sides of the equation. Therefore, 10 divided by 120, that will be my product. So now we have, this is my product, 4/5 is my base, and P minus 1 is my power. So when we are looking for power, we are saying what? Log, I'm looking for power. What base? 4/5. What product? 10/120. And that equal what? My power, which is P minus 1. Now I want a value of P, not P minus 1. So that one goes to the other side of the equation, changes the sign. And that way, we have moved all the items and we have P on this side of the equation. Now, when we put that in our calculator, press equal, we get a value. This value is 12 0.13. Now we know that we don't have a stage 12.13. We either have a stage 12 or stage next one 13. So the question was saying at what point that traveling distance is less than 10. Now, we know every time it gets smaller, but even without thinking much, if you want to check, is it 10 or is it 12? How do I do it? Well, I sub them into my formula. So 120 multiplied by 4/5. And then we are writing what? 12 minus 1. That would make term 12. And then I do the same thing for term 13. 120 multiplied by 4/5 and 13 minus 1. So the value I'm going to get here is what? 10.3. That means at stage 10, it traveled more than 10. And then when I put that in the calculator, I get 8.2. So that means at stage 13, is traveling less than 10. So the value of P we are looking for is 13.